able to be here tonight to our very terrifying back to school episode. We're going to talk about everything back to school tonight for children, for young adults, for individuals with special needs, language barriers, even children that we all know do not have any specific illness or malady or learning problem, but in any large family, there's usually one child that's got a stomach ache the whole week before going back to school. It's quite a big trigger for people with brain disorders, mental health issues, and all of us. It's like starting a new job. Go back to school, you're in a new classroom, maybe a new building. Our call-in guest tonight will be Erin, and I hope I'm saying her last name correctly. I'm going to say Sheed. We'll have her correct me when she gets on the air. And she is from the Peak Center for Autism, which is local here, actually in Burlington Township. She will be calling in a few minutes, and I look forward to the parallels and the differences that we'll see in a family that does not have anyone on the autism spectrum versus a family that does. And I am willing to bet, from what little I've read and talked with people up to this point, that there will be a lot of similarities, and coping skills will be, and preparation skills will be very similar. And I'm being told that Erin is trying to call in. We're going to tell her to call in again.
Yeah, I didn't see no calls yet.
We'll just let her know to call in again. And if Erin's listening, the number to call in, is that the number on the screen?
Yeah.
To call in? 609-807-2492. I may have given Miss Erin the wrong number. Or because I'm a mom getting ready for back to school, I don't have full function of my brain, and that number just doesn't look familiar to me. I'm being told we don't have video.
Video is on.
It is on. Okay, video is on.
Right now she's calling.
Oh, okay, and here we go. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
No problem. You're on.
Hello, caller.
Why are we getting
Hello, Erin.
Yeah, I'm here. She's calling now. Okay. Probably technical difficulty. Here you go.
Technical difficulties. Here on Brainstorms, we don't worry about that. That's what happens in life. We'll just calmly wait a moment. Erin, are you on the line?
I'm right here. How are you
right.
today?
Great, thank you. And my name, you probably couldn't realize how to pronounce it when you saw it, is Elena. And I was just announcing your last name, which I probably mispronounced. My guess was... go ahead.
Last name is Schneid.
Schneid, okay. Erin Schneid from Peak Center for Autism in Burlington. Thank you so much for being on the air with us tonight. We really appreciate it. And I personally know a lot of people who are very interested in this subject, and we're looking forward to hearing the broadcast tonight. So we're talking about all things back to school, from children to young adults to college students, children or young adults who have any type of brain disorder, including mental illness, including, I believe, we consider being on the autism spectrum as a brain disorder. Is that correct in your field?
Yeah, the DSM, it is in the neurological field for autism.
And I was just saying, I will bet that some of the nerves around back to school time and coping strategies are probably similar for families who have got a child on the autism spectrum, as well as families who don't. That's my guess.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We really only have like 2 weeks left of summer. I just told that to my kids today. So it's definitely time to start getting ready for this new school year and get our kids as prepared as possible.
Now, are you a mom like I was, where you go through this gamut of emotions over the whole summer? The last day of school, I would be so happy. So tired of just, it sounds terrible, so tired of making lunches and putting the note in there, and so tired of the book reports and the homework, and so happy we're all going to have a break and not have to get up so early. And by the end of summer, the kids are getting a little down, and I would be getting, all right, they're all going to be out of here and on the bus by a certain time, and I've got a little quiet to get things done for a while. It's a complete turnaround. Do you?
I think that's how every
Yeah.
mom, every parent feels right now.
All right. My favorite commercial used to be that I wanted to give them an Emmy. There was a back-to-school commercial. Staples ran it, and there was family shopping in the Staples store for back-to-school supplies, and that Christmas song, "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year," was playing over the intercom.
Yes.
And the dad wheeled by, gleefully hanging off a shopping cart, and the kids were there with very sour faces.
Absolutely. I saw a meme the other day with a mom in the pool, and the kids were standing outside with their book bags on.
That's funny. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, and we had a little technical difficulty, so we do want to say that Brainstorms is sponsored by the Jerry Petito Show and Hamilton Radio. And I was saying, you will love this, Erin, that Megan has some followers that look forward to the show, and they call themselves on Facebook Brainiacs. So I love that. All you Brainiacs
that's great.
out there. So Peak Center for Autism is in Burlington, and if when we're talking, if people want more information, I believe you have a website.
Yes, we have a website. It's peakcenteraba.com.
Peak, that's P-E-A-K, like climb the peak of the mountain, aba.com. And ABA, I read what it stood for, and I can't remember now.
Hang on. It's Peak, P-E-A-K, Center, ABA.com. And ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis.
Applied Behavior Analysis. All right. Myself and Jean in the studio, we could probably use some applied behavior analysis, I'm going to guess. But so tell me, let me let you tell me about your center and what you do there.
Sure. Our center provides in-home and center-based services to children diagnosed with autism from the ages of 18 years to about 9. And we are currently insurance-based. So, if your health insurance has the ABA benefit, then we can hopefully work with you and your child. So,
do you find that that's people don't usually have a problem with the insurance, or is it something that's only the top tier insurance plans have? What's your experience?
I wouldn't say only the top tier, but all insurances are so different. So we would just recommend, if you're interested, giving us a call, and we'll call and check to see if you have the ABA benefit for it.
Okay. And so you go from 18 years down to 9 years old?
No, 18 months.
Oh, 18 months. I thought you were saying it backwards. 18 months to 9 years old.
Yeah. So
after...
And that's...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say after... Because one of my questions was going to be... what you do at your center, is there a goal of transitioning into a public school, or that's not necessarily the goal, but if you only go up to 9 years old, what happens at that point?
So it's not technically a school. It's a insurance-based, so it's medically necessary therapy. Okay. So our clients still go to their schools and their programs that their schools are going to offer them. So you're
working really with the schools. You're giving therapy that hopefully is helpful to the child to function in school, to deal with things.
Correct.
That's fantastic. And
so we definitely would love to collaborate with all schools, but we are considered a medical facility, so we need to make sure that we are HIPAA compliant and we get permission from parents to be able to talk to schools and stuff.
All right, that's fascinating. I did not know that existed, but I think that's great, in-home and center-based. So in both cases, if you're going up to 9 years old, you do have, and I don't know if you go through the summer. Do you go through the summer?
Yep, we do go through the
Okay.
summer.
So what do you see with children with back to school jitters? Maybe you could tell us what might be specific to a child with autism. And we've all heard, if you've met a person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So I know that it's a very wide-ranging spectrum. But as a mom and a person just with life experience, what do you think is different about back-to-school jitters for someone on the spectrum versus someone who is not?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right with that. If you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. I do think each child is still such an individual person, individual needs and individual fears and about change and what's to come. And I think that any child could, have, preschool jitters getting ready for the first day of school. Any change can bring about a different mindset for anyone, really. So, it's really just getting them ready for that first day of school. And, we might be nervous about our new teacher, our friends going to be there. And I think autism or not, that's always going to be there. And I think, too, just the change in schedule for so many kids with autism will be a big difference. They've been home all summer. Maybe not all summer, but they've been home for a while. Their schedule's been changed. They've been hopefully swimming in a pool, having, lots of fun. And, it's time to change their schedule. So where school still might be such a positive thing for them, it's still going to be a change that they have to transition
and
to.
that is often particularly challenging for children with autism, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I could definitely see that. So that may be a little bit of an extra stress on them. And I do think when they're that little, at this point we're talking about children only up to 9 years of age. I think any time away from home can be stressful, even if it's happy, even if it's a party. That's always when kids throw up. A birthday party they're very excited about going to. It's a stress, I think, on the system, even though it's a happy thing. I remember my youngest so excited about a preschool Christmas little thing they were going to do for the parents, and the teacher said they're so excited. There'll be someone who throws up. Don't mark my words. There'll be someone who throws up. It was my daughter who threw up. She wasn't sick. She just was so excited about me seeing them sing their little bell song around the holidays.
Yep.
And it was a happy thing, but it just more excitement than they can handle, definitely. So, what do you have a plan in place with the kids getting ready to go back to school? Do you gear up on certain activities or therapies? I know it's very individual, but you must have in your minds realizing, okay, it's back to school time, and certain of our kids we work with are going to deal with that back to school issue. What do you do as therapists to prepare for that?
So definitely in the next couple of weeks in the center, we do a peak social every day where it's similar to a circle time, and we pull the kids together. There's always a book or a theme included. So in the next couple of weeks, that theme will be going back to school and, talking about things that are going to be happening come September. We also reach out to our families to see if they do want the support in going back to school. Do we know their teacher's name? Do we have a schedule for the first day of school? Does your child need a visual schedule for that first day of school, or maybe a social story to help them transition for that day? And then also we always say if you think your child would benefit from going to see their new classroom and possibly meet their new teacher, I think it's always acceptable to contact your case manager or your building principal and see if you can go in for a tour.
Now, can you do that if you have a child that does not have any special needs, but they're just very nervous? Do they honor that as well? Don't know?
I don't see why not.
Oh.
I would hope that, a school environment. I do know I had friends last year that they moved during the summer, and their daughter was starting, and she called, and she doesn't have special needs, and she was allowed to go in and take a tour and meet
Oh,
the
that's
principal.
nice. Now, I had that situation once we moved, and so my daughter was starting a brand new school where she knew no one. And I did call the school, and they were very nice about it, but they said, this is a new building. They're changing classes now. It's not homeroom all day. It's a new building. They're all new. It's their first day in this building for all of them. So, we'll do icebreakers and that kind of thing. Well, my daughter had a terrible day because even though they were all in the same boat, they were all from the same town. Everybody in the class knew at least someone or a few people, and she didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
And I have nothing but good things to say about teachers. I actually did get in touch with her teacher that day and said what a terrible day she had had. And the next day, the teacher did introduce her as someone new, and kind of pointed her in the direction of some kids who were very welcoming, very friendly, let's just say. And I did have a first grader, again, not on the autism spectrum. We've had other mental health issues in the family, but not autism. But I did have one girl who was very, very nervous about school. And I remember someone suggested speaking with the teacher, maybe seeing the classroom ahead of time. And the school was cooperative, but it can be hard to get in touch with the teachers over the summer. And there happens to be an event in the neighborhood, and I met a woman. She told me her name, and I said, "Are you the teacher from the elementary school? Because I have been told your name. That's the class my daughter is in. She's very nervous, and I was just wondering if you were going to be there one day setting up, if I could just bring her to see the classroom." And it was just by chance that we ran into each other, and she said, "Of course." And she told me when to come. I brought my daughter. I'll never forget her. She just took my daughter's hand, said, "Hi, I'm Mrs. So-and-so." And they went down the hallway, and she just showed her the classroom, showed her how it was laid out, what everything was. And my daughter came home very excited to tell me she saw her desk, she saw her name on the desk, and she saw that there were packages of crayons, and they were all going to get one. And she just needed to visualize it. She saw where the bathroom was, and that there was a pass to go to the bathroom, and, you would be allowed to go if you needed to go. And that was the smoothest year for her with back to school.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know who you are, Maria. Thank you for that. Years ago, but I still remember it. But that's
that
interesting.
kindness can go a long way.
Yes. Yeah, it really did. That is one thing I do talk to parents about with this issue is you never know. Get in touch with the teacher. Yours is not the first child to be nervous. It's not the first time a parent has had to talk to a teacher about that. And sometimes the teachers they've dealt with many more children that particular age than you have. And sometimes they kind of know what might work to put them at ease. So you definitely want to reach out. And I found that teachers, I think of you like a teacher, although I know it's technically therapy, but that kind of adult in charge, nurturing children. And
yeah,
I
agreed. And I was a special needs ed teacher before I ended up here at Peak Center. So, I definitely, and now on the parent side too, from the teacher and the parent side, I think the best thing that you can do to build that relationship with a teacher in the beginning of the school year is to reach out to them, let them know you have open communication and that you're part of your child's team. You're not, you're going to be part of his school or his or her school experience as much as, you can be. And if there's ever anything that you need, like the teacher should just be able to ask or work with you on something. And I think that goes a long way too in the beginning of the year.
Oh, I agree. My gosh. Yeah. Every year I wound up, there'd always be a back to school night. In a public school, there'll be a back to school night, and all the parents come out that one night, and the teacher goes over the schedule that they have in the classroom. But nothing much has happened yet. It's the beginning of the school year. There's not usually a lot of problems at that point. But I would always look forward to just meeting the teacher, just looking her in the face, getting each other's name, shaking her hand. And what I always kept was there'd be a teacher who said, "You can always call me," or a teacher who said, "I check my email every night. It might be midnight, but I'll get back to you." So I always made a point of keeping that contact information. And a lot of people are afraid to bother the teacher or the therapist. I'm using teacher all-encompassingly. A lot of parents don't want to bother them, or they don't want to have that stigma that they've got a sensitive kid or they've got a picky kid, or But my experience over the years has been teachers were always very welcoming. If I was a presence, if they saw me occasionally, if they heard from me, they knew I cared about my child as well as the other children my child was interacting with, and I respected them. They always gave so much time and effort. They really, really did, without exception. So I can't say, and I'm sure you know, not that you don't want to help a family where you don't see the parent, but you don't know as much if you don't see or ever talk to the parent, right?
Yeah, and I think the advice, like, to working parents who may not see their teacher as much or be able to make, like, special events, that, there's still plenty of ways to communicate to your teacher. And I had a very busy year last year, so the first time I met my son's teacher last year, I said, listen, I'm going to be really busy, but I'm here, so let me know. And she definitely appreciated it, so.
There's a couple of them. There's several kind of viral videos going on right now about the back-to-school supplies. And I love the concept behind it, because I remember those years of going out shopping on the first day of school with this list. Everything's sold out. There's not a glue stick to be found, and you've got these very, very long list of very, very specific things that you have to get your child. And a lot of parents are stressed, and they would be complaining about that. So there are these Facebook viral videos going around where there will be a mom pushing a shopping cart, and they're really in the Target or the Walmart or wherever, and they're just using their cell phone, filming themselves, and they will be talking about, I have no complaints. I have had all my children home all summer, and I'm going to send them to you, and you're going to take, they're not even your kids, and you're going to take my kids and 25 other kids, and you're going to teach them and care about them. I will buy you a microwave. You want a microwave for the break room? I'll buy for you number 2 pencils, all you want, I'll buy you a laptop for your grade, whatever you need. And it's very true. That's how I feel about teachers. Absolutely. I'll
Agreed.
buy them a
and
microwave.
Going through those lists, so many schools provide those lists before the first day of school now.
Now they do,
and
yes.
if you have that list, that's a great opportunity to help get your child ready for the school year, is if you can go and do it together. A lot of times it's pretty specific. You
Yes.
need three blue notebooks and 1 red folder. But if there is something that they could pick out, that would be more meaningful to them, like, their own pencil case or...
Right. That's a good point.
That
They
might
get
help them
excited
get
over that.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. That's another, coping thing. I guess we all have those, those kind of common sense things you do. If the child, they get a new backpack, they get a new lunchbox, whatever makes them excited. I think nothing makes children, and even high school, college age, autism spectrum or not, mental illness or not, I think nothing makes people more at ease than feeling prepared, feeling welcomed, feeling like they kind of know the lay of the land where they're going. The typical high school fear is, will I find my classes? Will I get my locker open? Many, many years after high school, I was still dreaming that I couldn't get my locker open. So obviously that's a life-scarring event for people.
Yeah, I think that, I think change is such a big stressor for everybody, and then knowing
Yes.
where you're going can really help organize your thoughts and organize what your day is going to be like.
And what I talk with people often from the parent viewpoint, and I find that the more stressed the parent is, that the child just absorbs that. So and you tell me if this is the case in your center, if you've got a child and they're on the spectrum and you're working with them and you're preparing for back to school, I'm sure some children are more nervous than others. I will bet you could have a child not particularly worried about it, but mom is. And that can become an issue.
I do think that that can be an issue, and I usually find that those parents are the parents that advocate for their children to make sure that their children is going to be prepared and doing the most that they can to help
Yeah.
their child with this transition. So
Which is a
I
good thing.
always try to say to parents, keep advocating, keep working with your child's teacher and case manager and study team, to do what's best for your child. But I also like to say, like, when they hit a good spot, when it's okay, appreciate the professionals you have working with your children.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I love how things have changed over the years, because when I was growing up, if there was bullying at school, if you had a problem about a particular teacher that you thought didn't like you, or whatever the situation was, you didn't tell anybody about it. Because the other kids, Gene's nodding his head, when we grew up, yeah, you didn't tell someone, you didn't go to a counselor, if there even was a counselor in the school, you didn't go tell them that you had a problem with someone, because what would they do? They would, let's say it was a bullying situation. There was a lunch thief in my school at one time. They would call that person in and talk to the two of you and think like everything's okay, and then that person would pick on you even more, because you had told on them. And I know some kids even weren't believed at home in those days, because sometimes there could be a misunderstanding. Not that the teacher doesn't like a child or isn't being fair, but sometimes you can read a child a certain way, and maybe they think their tone is joking when it comes off as disrespectful. But if you came home and said you had a problem with the teacher, the parental answer you would get is, why did that happen? What are you doing to cause you to have a problem? And it's so different today, which I think it's so much better today, where kids are encouraged to speak up if there's a problem, if they're uncomfortable. Because I don't want to upset any teachers out there, but I have sometimes felt, school, I think, is like almost jail. Because I've dealt with some parents, usually it's fathers, sometimes it's mothers, who say, well, you got to toughen up, you got to be able to, take things in life. There's not many places in life where you must go to a certain room a certain day and sit in a certain desk. I mean, if you have a job, you're allowed to get up and go to the bathroom whenever you need to. You can go get a drink of water whenever you need. You can leave a meeting to have a drink of water if you need a drink of water. If you have a coworker you don't get along with, or who's upsetting to you in some way, you're not forced to sit next to that person or change in a gym locker room with them. So I think school can be tough. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it can be tough, and I think that, if a problem arises, the best thing that we could do is take that opportunity to teach our children how to work with others and tell when we're having a problem with someone, so that we can help them and guide them to be making smart choices and being kind to others. Think that's what part of school is, so that when they are adults, they can get through the day as well.
Yes, and that's what I love seeing today, that that is the atmosphere now. We do want people to speak up when they're not comfortable. Now, Megan, this is Megan's show. I'm taking over tonight because she was not able to be here. My daughter, Megan, also runs a nonprofit for kids. It's called Top Cat Stage Productions. And she writes original plays. And it's either low cost or free. And kids can come to a 12-week workshop and learn about what's involved in putting on a show. The only requirement is that they're interested in this subject. And we find that we get children, some on the spectrum, some off the spectrum, some with physical disabilities, some with learning disabilities. We've had kids who can't read, although they're at an age that you would think that they could read. They're all interested in it, this same thing, and they're very kind to each other, and they behave very well. So we have found I don't want to mention anybody's specific name. Okay. I just won't mention the name. So there was one little girl I'll never forget, because I knew her mother, and she was having trouble with someone at school, a girl at school, was bothering her. This little girl didn't want to be in trouble. She's trying to pay attention, and it's one of those situations where the child next to you is bored and pulling on your hair or poking you or doing something to get a reaction out of you. And I remember this little girl saying, it got to a point where her mother did say, at first her mother said, I think you just need to, maybe she's trying to be friends with you, maybe she's just fooling around, maybe just kind of let it roll off your back. But it was continuing, it was bothering her. And so the mother did address this with the teacher and her daughter. And she cracked up to find out that her daughter had been keeping a list on her desk that when they went to talk to the teacher, her daughter knew, and I think she was 9 at the time, knew enough to write down Monday before lunch. I told whatever her name is that I didn't like her doing that. She laughed and did it again, and she had kept a running tab of all these things that this little girl's going to grow up to be a lawyer. When they went to the teacher, she had, listen, I've done my part. I have tried. Here's the amount of times this person has bothered me and how I've tried to deal with it. I'd really appreciate it if you would move my seat at this point. I thought that was the best story I ever heard.
Yeah, she's either going to be a lawyer or a behavior analyst, because that's really great data that she was taking on that behavior.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to tell her mom that. We thought lawyer. Okay, she's going to be a lawyer. All right, or a behavioral analyst. So tell me some more about what you do. You said you were in special education before you came to the Peak Center.
Yeah, so my personal background is I taught for 6 years in a special services school district. A couple different classes, but between grades 1st and 6th grade. With kids with special needs. And then when I finished getting my board certified behavior analyst, I transitioned in the same school district to be a BCBA for them. And at that time, I moved into the high school. So I worked with 14 to 21-year-olds on the spectrum.
Wow. Wow.
So through there, and I kind of always, beyond the school district, always worked in the homes after school, really going in and supporting families and helping them learn strategies and teach their children with autism different skills that they may need in the home. So in that, we found Tatiana. She is the owner and executive director of the Peak Center. She worked with me in the school for a little bit, and then she said, you know what, I'm going to go start my own company and work with families the way I want to work with them. And so she started the Peak Center in February of 2016.
Wow, that is a great story.
So it's really been an exciting couple of years to see how fast the center grows, and even just to see progress in the kids that we've had from the start.
Sure. That's the joy of it.
Really, like the best part of it, seeing the clients' progress every day, and looking back to see where they started and being able to work with their families. To help everyone on the same page.
And her last name is Peak, isn't it?
Yeah, her maiden name is Peak.
Oh, okay. Because I saw that online, and I was thinking, what a great name for what you do. I thought the name Peak was chosen just because you've got the kind of logo with the mountain, like you're trying to reach the pinnacle of, I want to say success, but by success I mean, happiness and being well-adjusted and all that. You're trying to reach the peak of the mountain. Some people are just so aptly named for what they do.
Yes, that's definitely it's her vision, and she is doing such a great job with it. The things that she's the one that thought of that logo.
That's
so
great.
She just really is always thinking about it and really striving to do what's best for her clients and their families.
I know someone in communications and Pace Communications, and that was her last name. That was her, and I just thought, oh, how could you not? Pace, what a great set the pace. So is behavioral, I want to say it right, behavioral analyzing. You're a behavioral analyst.
Yes. So BCBA stands for Board Certified Behavior Analysis. So there's a whole national board that we took exams and did hours for. and we still have to keep up our continuing education credits for this credential.
Board certified is very important. Megan and I are avid Grey's Anatomy fans, so we understand the concept of board certified. It is, and quite an achievement, and that's who you want to work with if you can. But my question is, by behavior analyst, are you learning about human behavior in general and applying it to specific individuals, or are you analyzing that specific individual's behavior?
That specific individual behavior. So
Wow.
we strive to find the function of any behavior, so why this behavior is happening, and then how is it being reinforced currently, and what can we change in the environment to help shape this behavior into a more socially appropriate behavior.
Oh, that is so important to have someone on the outside sometimes. Families can have...
I say it all
Yeah.
the time when people when I ask people for help, I say, can you just look at this? Like, maybe I'm just missing this one piece, So definitely someone coming in and looking on the outside may give you a
Yes.
different perspective.
That's very... Because you would think you would have all the answers for everyone in your family, but sometimes the perspective is different when it's your own family.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about your experience? I know right now you're with the younger guys. That's the age group that we work with at Top Cat as well, and it is such a fun age group. We take 5 or 6 years old. We take all the way up, but we have a lot of programs that go up to about age 12. And the kids are... they're not jaded to life yet. They're just so excited about everything they learn, and it's really, really fun to work with them, and as you said, to watch their progress. But I'm interested in what you think about the high school students today, in your experience.
I worked with a pretty severe population of autism in high school.
Oh, okay.
So I have seen the IEP process at the end, at the 21 age. So I think like my biggest learning experience from seeing where kids and families are at the age of 21 when autism is involved or any special needs are involved is how independent is your child in everyday life. So I think in seeing that end result and where families need to be and where they usually are isn't probably what the expectation was. So I really, I'm excited to be working with the younger kids again so I can work with families and say, this is important now. This is important to work on now. Get them independent and have, skills appropriate so that they can grow and be at a different place at 21.
That's very interesting. Yeah, and so you feel you're really making a huge difference dealing with the younger children.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. That's a really good point, and it's sobering to think about children who are more on the severe end of the spectrum getting older, and you put it very well, not being where the family expected everybody to be at that age.
And I don't think that even if they're not where they expected to be, doesn't mean that person or that individual can't be successful. It just might be a different plan than what was originally.
That is true across the board here at Brainstorms. I always talk about redefining success because with disorders of the brain, there are often things that have a lot of stigma attached to them, that people think, fibromyalgia is all in your head, or depression, just snap out of it, and they kind of invalidate. And some of it I have seen is parents very caught up in what we used to call the rat race, very caught up with keeping up with others, and they don't want to have the child who gets upset and cries easily, or is different in any form. And I have had parents who contact me to talk about these things because they know some of the issues I've had in my family over the years. And I tell them you have to redefine success. It doesn't matter if your child has a diagnosis or not. It doesn't matter if they're on any spectrum or not. If you have a child who is nervous and unhappy about something, it doesn't matter whether there's a name for it. It doesn't matter whether it's a diagnosable illness or not. The concept is the same. You have to redefine success. If your child is scared to death of something, they're never going to do that. If they have too much stress for a certain type of activity, really, unless it's eating or getting a doctor's checkup or something necessary for life, if it's really that big a deal to them, why do we have to push them, to do it? Success for I knew a child who really could not get through a school day, couldn't get through a whole school day, had to come home. So for that family, success was, let's make it through half a school day, come home for lunch, and let's see if some days you go back for that last class. But for that child to get through to lunchtime and not have left the class upset or needing to go talk to the counselor or the nurse, that was an achievement for that child. It didn't matter they didn't stay the whole day. For them, that was a success. They stayed, they paid attention, and I think you have to individualize for everybody.
Absolutely, and I think that that's something that applied behavior analysis really strives so hard to do. I've had so many conversations with parents and teachers through the years of, okay, this is where your expectation is, and this is where your child is, or this child is. So applied behavior analysis is going to look at where that child is, where they need to get to, and work on shaping and reinforcing those little steps to get to that big expectation. So
I do think services like yours are very, very important for many, many reasons. And as we said, that outside perspective and what you were just talking about, even yourself, if you had a child on the spectrum and you have the education to do what you just said, you also have to work. You also have to cook. You also have to wash clothes. You also have other children to take care of. There's not that set time of day to just concentrate on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my favorite quotes, and I had one of my friends, I was driving home, I said, you need to look this up. I can't think of how it says, but it's, if you found it, it's when little people are overwhelmed by big emotions, it's our job to share our calm and not join their chaos. So I think
it's our job to what?
To share our calm and not join their chaos.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I really just always try to think about that. Even in my everyday life, I may not have time for you to take, extended amount of time to put your shoes on. But if that's your success today, okay, let's give you that extra time you need if you can. And if not, then okay, maybe we can go into this situation more proactively the next time and have a better plan so that we're all on the same page and you are successful.
I love that. Share your calm instead of joining their chaos. Is that what you said? I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
I love that. Because that's what happens. When somebody's upset, it spreads, it gets everybody else frazzled, And if the parents stay calm, a lot of times the kids stay calm. And
that's not saying it always happens, trust me, because we're all parents and everyone makes mistakes, but if you're going into it with the right mindset, it becomes easier and easier to reinforce those little steps, those little successes, instead of getting frustrated about the big picture.
And it's often in families, I don't have anybody on the spectrum, but I've seen in families where no one's even on an autism spectrum, Often it's that you're supposed to be somewhere at a certain time and mom is getting a little stressed because that's just natural. You're thinking of three things at once. Do we have everything we need? Did I shut the lights off? Is the dog in the house? And you're getting ready to go. And even if it's happy stress, you're going someplace happy, kids pick up on that and they get uptight. And that's when somebody has a meltdown because they don't want to put their shoes on or something like that. And it just goes back and forth. You just feed off of each other. And the parents who I admire are the ones who catch what's happening and realize, okay, if you want to be practical about it, if it's very, very important we get to where we're going on time, you're going to spend just as much time trying to force this kid, argue with this kid, as you would to just take a breath, sit down and say, okay, all right, let's just calm down a minute. All right, you don't want to put your shoes on. All right. And just that the tone of voice, just the calming presence, the kid calms down. Sometimes they just want you to stop a minute and let them catch up, in mind or in emotion. Just let them catch up.
Yeah, I do. And one of the biggest things I hear from families about being in the community is, when their child with special needs is having a behavior, it doesn't mean that the parent is to blame. And
oh my gosh, of course not. Well, but
so I think as a community, as a world, the biggest thing people can know, if you're not aware of autism, is learn a little bit about autism, but also understand that maybe the parent is really trying to get through this, because then next time it'll be so much better. And maybe, this is what that child needs to do to get through that. But it's definitely to feel supported by the community versus, oh, look at their parenting. Oh, look at what their child's doing. So.
Yeah, I can't believe that people still do that. But I
you do. You still hear it. You hear good stuff most of the time too. You do, hear people understanding and supporting them, of course. But I think everyone just, take a minute, and give everyone a little extra time.
Yeah, and I've seen it with adults too. I was entering a store one day, and I heard some kind of ruckus, and there was somebody yelling in the parking lot, and it was a young woman, maybe an older teenager. And she was crouched down on the sidewalk, and she had earbuds in, and she was rocking, and she was listening to music, and she was yelling, and she wasn't going to get in the car with her mom. It struck me as some type of mental illness she might have had. She was rocking, maybe it was autism, I don't know. But I looked and I saw the mom sitting in the car, and I saw the look on her face. And she's sitting there. What are you going to do? You're going to drag the woman in the car? You're gonna yell at her? She was just sitting there, letting the person soothe themselves and just waiting. And I just really felt for her. And I actually had been in similar shoes at one point in my life. And I walked past her. The car window was open. And I said, "How you doing? I'm going in the store. Can I get you a water or something while you're waiting out here?" And she said, "No." And I said, "You're doing a good job. I've been where you are. You're doing a great job." And she really looked at me and smiled, And I went inside the store. When I came out, they were gone. So it just struck me that I felt for her. I knew the look on her face, and I knew what to say to her. I think a lot of times people don't know what to say. I try and smile, like, oh, this will be a funny blog story when you get home, and put the kids to bed, pour a glass of wine, and go on Facebook. Like, so there I was in line, and this one's screaming and this one's doing that. But just try and use.
I always want to give those moms a high five and say, "You're doing it. Yeah. You got it."
What would you say? I'm just very, very empathetic. People call me sensitive. They call my kids sensitive. Growing up, they called my kids sensitive. And I used to tell my children, sensitive isn't a bad thing. They're not saying you're sensitive as in, oh my gosh, you're so easily offended. Sensitive means sensitive to others, as well as your own feelings. It's having a sensitivity for others. That's a compliment to say someone's sensitive, because they're not a selfish, self-centered person. They're sensitive, and they will be sympathetic to others, and we need those people. So I think that's a good thing to be, and I've always told my children that. But there's some people, and there's definitely another generation that says, oh, everybody has autism these days. In my day, you just give the kid a spanking. Oh, everybody has depression now. Just get up and go to work, go to school, and that's a tough. That's a tough attitude to deal with. I have told my children when they were grown, you know what? If it's somebody that you have to have in your life and that's their attitude, you know what? If we really can't deal with them, if we really can't get anywhere with them, let's just be happy for them, because they must have no idea what you're going through, or they wouldn't have that attitude. So you know what? Good for them. I'm glad they don't have to suffer the illness that you're going through. And we kind of had to leave it at that. But what do you, what would you, is there some way to word that to the people who say, oh, that's just bipolar disorder, that's just, everybody has that now. That's just any problem, they'll say you have bipolar disorder. How do you address that if you run into that kind of attitude?
I think I address it, we like our data as behavior analysis. So we say, well, our data would show otherwise. But also, just keep in mind that everybody is different. Everybody, every kid is amazing and wonderful in their own way, special needs or not. So, we just need to have an understanding that we all as individuals are different and, help each other get through this world versus, making it more of a challenge for them.
Oh, that's very well said. And you're right. I mean, because I know I've spoken with a lot of counselors for different types of things. There is data. So people love to make blanket statements like, oh, everything's this today. Well, you know what? There's more to it than that, But there's just more to it than that. My own children growing up had different problems, and they felt bad, like they were bothering others with their problems. And I remember saying to them, if we had a guest in the house who was afraid of dogs, wouldn't we put the dog away? We wouldn't sit and argue with the kid's mother about there's no reason to be afraid of a dog. It's a guest in your home. It's a person you're dealing with. For whatever reason, they have a dislike of something or not able to deal with something, we would just put the dog away. It's the same principle. You're certainly entitled to have your needs met. Everybody is.
Yeah, and I would try and say, if you are going to come back, what can we do next time to help your child be more familiar with the dog? Or, is there something we could do to help with that fear?
I have a question from someone on Facebook who wants to know, they have a son. Their child exhibits some behaviors that you commonly, if I'm reading this right, that you commonly see in someone on the autism spectrum, but the child is not autistic. What kind of help or practical things can they do or learn about?
I think it depends on the type of symptoms that individual is seeing, and what. It's hard to say without knowing a little bit more.
She's talking a lot about routine. This is a 7-year-old, and a lot about routine. Changing not able to deal with change in what was planned and expected. I would always try to, see if there's something about the routine that is what is causing that stress or that behavior, and see if there's a strategy or some way you can modify it to help proactively for that routine. So you have to address it.
Yeah, whether it's a visual schedule, just example of, in my house, I don't have, my children are not on the autism spectrum, but they all have visual schedules for the morning so that they know they have to get up and get dressed and brush their teeth and eat their breakfast and put shoes on. So that really helps our routine as a family.
That works for them. They feel like they know what to expect and what to do. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. And it works for us. It cuts down on our stress and anxiety as we're trying to pack those lunches, as we're trying to, make sure everyone has their book bags ready. Because we know that they know their responsibilities. They know their expectations as well. And it's laid out for them as a reminder if they need it.
Oh, I remember those days. The backpacks, the gym bag, the this, the that. I think parents are just tired. Parents out there, you're tired. It's tiring raising kids.
I actually just started a new routine in my house. I had done the morning schedules. Mornings are the hardest. I have 3 young children, and one's about to interrupt us. She was doing so good, but she figured out where I was.
This is a professional analyst, ladies and gentlemen, who is like in the pantry in her home, calling in, trying to give some advice. We can't thank you enough. It's like
So,
those Facebook videos with the moms hiding in the pantry because they want to have a Twizzler or something, and the kids can't have it.
absolutely. So we, at the end of their morning schedule now, they were doing their morning schedule great, and then I would lose them all. I'd be like, I know they put their shoes on, but where'd they go? Like, we're ready to leave. Like, where is everyone? So we had them color rocket ships, and they each put their rocket ship on the step, and they have to sit on their rocket ship ready to take off for the day.
That's great.
And then we asked Alexa to count down to 10, count down from 10, and Alexa sends us off for the day. And I personally have found it beneficial to me because it's taking that 10 seconds. It's taking that extra time. Okay, we're all ready to leave. Let's go.
It sounds like a lot of fun to live in your house.
It
really does. I mean, you have to spend time with children anyway. And I always say, if you come home from someplace the child wants attention, if you sit down sometimes and play with your child on the floor for 15 minutes, they might continue playing for an hour, and you can go in the next room. For me, it was off in the kitchen, and do whatever you want. But if you try and do your stuff first and make the child wait, they can't wait. So that's, you're going to spend time doing arts and craft with your children anyway. Why not plan a visual board for the morning? Why not have everybody color rocket ships? I think that's great. That's awesome.
And I think they like it. They made it. That helps that ownership to it. So I think go back to that question, find what works for your child to be better with routines. And sometimes, I don't know if it's going the other way, but if we're too much in our routine and if something gets changed in our routine, that can also be a really challenging time for some of our clients. So, maybe we need to throw in a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more fun, and maybe try to plan it so that you can be ready and have the time for the behaviors that may follow to help work through it.
That makes a lot of sense. So she could involve her child in how are we going to deal with what's bothering you in the morning. I had one kid like that where I would just kind of brainstorm and are you feeling, does it bother you because is it maybe this, is it maybe that? And eventually I'd hit on something that I'd see in her face was striking her, and I'd go in that direction because she didn't always know how to put in words what she was feeling. She knew the feeling, but not how to explain it. So I'd have to poke around a little bit, say, "Oh, okay, so is it this?" And then we had words, and what would help? Say this to me in your words. What would help make you feel better? I used to do you put notes in your children's lunch boxes?
Not as much as I probably would like to.
I put you on the spot there. I remember.
Got me. I know I haven't done that one as much.
I remember. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I try to get them to make their own lunches.
That's good. Well, that's actually good. So then lunch, that's a special thing. They are excited when they make their own lunch. I used to make the lunches the night before, and they helped. But I remember trying to be super organized, and I remember having a humongous whiteboard in my kitchen with everything on it, which helped me because I'm visual, helped me keep things straight. And they knew their colors for, who was busy doing what. But I remember trying to be super organized, and, if this makes you happy, then do it. If you think it's stupid, then don't do it. But I got a stack of Post-its, and I wrote like a month's worth of lunchbox notes.
That's a great idea.
And in the I had what the yellow ones were for my one daughter, and the blue ones were for the other daughter, and so I could be hurrying up with the lunch, and they were generic, nothing specific about a test or but generic. How I love you. Have a great day. Hope you're enjoying your lunch. The little things you put in there, so I could just rip one off and throw it in the lunch bag. But
that's a great idea. I may have to go that route then.
Well, if you want to, I tended to make the lunches for them, so I think that note was nice because I'm very controlling, so that was a problem. I'm very controlling. I want to do it all my way, but sometimes you're better off letting them help, even though it's not perfect, But I do find with parents, you need rest, you need to calm down, nothing's the end of the world. You just can't control everything. You're just better off being calm to deal with it. You're always better off being calm. At the end of the day, when kids are asleep, you can think about the day and think, was there something we're doing that's a problem that we need to address? But in the heat of the moment is not the time to get upset because you've got to get somebody in line because you're reacting at that moment. You'll never regret being calm. Gee, I didn't get upset. I didn't yell. I didn't, get stressed out. You'll never regret that because sometimes you're upset in the moment. And later on you think back and you wish you would have handled it differently. But I give so much praise and credit and thanks to you and all the other types of counselors, mental health workers, board certified, anybody, as well as the teachers out there, because it's a huge difference what you model for families in dealing with these issues, which I don't think it's an issue of the day. I think it's that it's more acceptable to come forward about these issues today. I think that's why people feel there's a prevalence of issues.
Yeah, absolutely. In the next couple weeks on our website, we just finished creating a resource for parents of different providers around the area for different things. So in the next couple of weeks, our site should have that resource up. And we're also currently working on a just after diagnosis packet that we plan to pass out to doctors' offices in the area.
I love that.
Those families just getting that diagnosis. Where do we go now? What do we do now? So I think, when you're thinking about how the day went and if it comes across, I just don't know what to do or I do need help, hopefully you can use one of those resources on our site too.
Oh, that is awesome. And the doctor's office they're cooperative with you? They would like to have this information to share, I take it? They should.
We've had pretty good success. I mean, even just passing out our information for doctors' offices. And, I think that doctors are looking for places for therapy as well to point people in the right direction. So and then
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say for a community, we also do community events for the Peak Center with our nonprofit. And
I saw your sensory-friendly Easter egg hunt, and it was a sensory-friendly visit with Santa Claus, some holiday things. Is that some of those events you're talking about?
Yes, absolutely. So our next one is our Trunk or Treat, and it's October 28th from 11 to 1 at our center. So, if you are a family that wants some more support or wants a place to go where there's no judgment of, anything, and there's sensory opportunities, we will be there.
Well, that's very nice. I know the Burlington County Library headquarters, they do they have a sensory movie day. I think it's one Saturday a month, and it's very well attended. And they keep the lights on, and it's the kids can get out of their seats and they can talk, and it's known that that's going to happen. It's not a problem, and it's nice for the parents because they can let the kid enjoy themselves and not feel they have to shush them. So the website again is Peak, P-E-A-K, Center, ABA.com, and we'll put information up on our site about that as well after the show. And I did see some information on some of those events, and you said there's going to be more resources coming up in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully people will look at the website and keep checking for that, because that would be great.
Yeah, it's finished. It's just, getting through the end of the summer and transitioning to September when we can get it on the site. So we're working on it.
That's great. Yeah, you're a great resource, and this is for families even who do not attend your center, Trunk or Treat, and different things that you do.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
absolutely.
Awesome. That's awesome.
It's for the community, so we really want to get out there and be a resource. So thanks.
I think what you're doing is awesome. really, it's very much needed. And I'm so happy that you're doing it. You sound like a wonderful person, and so does Tatiana. You sound like the right people to be doing it. Do you
Well,
have...
thank you so much for inviting us. We got so excited
thank
to
you.
get Megan's message yesterday.
It was so nice to just talk with you in general, and I mean, I guess there's other centers like yours. I'm not familiar with any of them, and maybe there's not a lot in our local area here because I don't know.
Yeah, there are more centers that do in-home, but the in-center, I think the in-center part of our service is what is a little bit different than what you typically see.
What if somebody thinks they might need your support? How do they go about that? How can they?
They can go ahead and call us and talk to anyone in the office, and we can see if we can help you.
All right. Well, you sound very easy to talk to. So, and what hours are you open to call? I think you said it earlier.
9:30 to 6, Monday through Friday.
Okay, 9:30 to 6, Monday through Friday. And again, it is Peak, P-E-A-K, Center, ABA.com. We will have information up on the Brainstorms website as well. Was there anything... I like to talk. I'm sorry that Megan is not here today, but, you know, I want one of these microphones and the headset. I want it in my living room. And when people come in, I'll say, hello, guest, you know, hello, visitor, have a seat. I'll move the next person down. That would be my dream come true. I want to make sure you got to cover everything you wanted to. Do you have any final thoughts you want to add or let people know about the center, or, you know, just your experience in general, or just back to school guidance?
I do have two quick things. I think the first one is we do offer social skills groups in the center as well. So that's a really fun time for some of our clients to get together. One of my favorite...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. One of my favorite quotes was a client said one day at Social Skills, she said, "It's just so nice to be somewhere with people like me around." So it was a really nice moment for sure. Then I think anyone with a special needs child or anyone parent getting ready for the school year, the more proactive you can be to get your child ready can help. And if you're ever feeling that your child's needs aren't being met, you as a parent have that power to advocate for them and advocate for what needs, you know, they need to get and how you can make that happen. So just, if you're a parent out there with a special needs child, just keep advocating. You're doing a great job, you know, and your child's definitely going to meet the success they're going to get with you behind them. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I agree. And I just want to ask, the social skills group, do you have to be a, what's the word, a client, you know, like a fully enrolled client to participate in that? Or is that something that's open to others as well?
And with the diagnosis of autism.
Okay, so you could come to the center just for the social skills, even if you're not in need of the other services?
Correct.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, again, Peak Center, ABA.com. And I have to wrap it up. We've had so much fun. Thank you so much for being with us. I really, really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to talk to you. And thank your little guys for leaving you alone to be on the phone.
They did pretty good.
They've been great. We really appreciate it. And I'm being told we have to wrap up. So thank you again so much. We can talk to you off the air as well if you'd like. We really appreciate it. And thank you. This has been Brainstorms. Thank you to our sponsor, The Jerry Petito Show and Hamilton Radio. Good night, everybody.